Hey, Pete here from TechMyStressAway.com and welcome to part 5 of the WordPress membership crash course. In this lesson we're going to be looking at integrating third-party products. So I'm going to show you an example of integrating the payment processor Stripe. So we're back inside WordPress and we're going to go to hover over WishList member, and then if we go to setup. Now before we go into the integrations, just to mention that you can add new membership levels here, so by clicking that green icon at the top. If we had different courses, so say like we've got the beginners course, say we had an intermediate course and an advanced course, we could add 3 different types of memberships. So that's just here where you would add that. Now if we see on the left, we can see integrations. If we click integrations, it's going to take us to 3 tabs. So the first one is payment providers. So as we can see, there's many different providers. We've got PayPal, Stripe, which is the one that we're going to be using. Now if they're disabled, they will be like this dull grey colour, and once we enable it, we'll see the difference. Now if I just switch over to email providers, so we've got people like ActiveCampaign, MailChimp, again like I said, all the top email marketing services. So this is if you wanted to add new members to say a specific list, or if you're using someone like ActiveCampaign, you could add tags and follow-ups and stuff like that. So I'm not going to be showing you that here, but that's just another option that you've got, and it's going to be a very similar process to what I'm going to show you with Stripe anyway. They do have videos with certain integrations, so it might be worth checking up here on the video tutorials. And if we just look at the last one, which is other services, as I mentioned as well, they do some webinar services. So we've got GoToWebinar, there's also LearnDash and Zapier. So Zapier are like a central hub for lots of different integrations if you've never heard of them before. So they work and they basically link lots of different applications together. So that was just worth noting there. So if I go back to the payment providers, and if I scroll down, and we'll see we've got Stripe here. So if I click Stripe and scroll back up, now to activate any of the integrations, we just click on the little icon at the top and make it go green, and then we're going to get this API status not configured. Now this will be a little bit more technical than previous lessons, but just to, without freaking you out, I'm just going to try and keep this as basic as possible. Now the way integrations work is through APIs. Now I did mention APIs right near the beginning of the course, and basically how APIs work are they link 2 applications together, so they enable the 2 applications to talk to each other essentially. So with this here, we're going to be integrating WishList member and Stripe. So that's done through using an API. So on the right hand side we can see we've got a tutorial. Now this is specific for Stripe, so you can check that out as well if you don't feel confident with what I'm going to show you. And just to also mention that this is specifically for Stripe, so if you don't use Stripe, then it's still going to be worth you watching just to see how integrations work. But obviously if you use a different payment processor, it might not be particularly useful in that sense. And just also to mention that Stripe is a fantastic payment provider, but there is a caveat to that, and it's that they're not very particularly non-developer friendly. So whereas if you've used PayPal before, it's extremely easy to create like a PayPal button, a buy now button, or a subscription button, whereas with Stripe they tend to be more targeted towards developers. So a lot of it's developer language, and it's not so easy to use just to create a quick payment button. So if you are going to use Stripe, what I would say is that if you're not a developer, just to know that you're going to need probably something to sit in between what you're going to use and Stripe itself. So for example, there's a shopping cart called Thrivecart where you can set up products and stuff like that. So outside of obviously WishList member and the whole membership thing, you can sell products through someone like Thrivecart. There's many different choices. Now I know with WordPress there are some WordPress plugins, so say you was just going to sell individual products outside of membership. There is a few free plugins or free versions of plugins where you can just add single products. So that's worth looking at. When it comes to the actual recurring payments, which is what you would need with membership, then you probably would have to get the paid versions of those plugins. So without me trying to get too sidetracked, just to know if you are going to go with Stripe, they are fantastic, but they're not particularly non-developer friendly. So let's carry on. So the first thing you do when you enable any of the integrations, there'll be this probably configure option. So if we click configure, we'll see that it wants some information from us. So with Stripe, there is a publishable key and a secret key. Now these are both called API keys, and we'll see here there's a link to where you get them from in Stripe. Now I'm already logged into Stripe, so I'm going to click this and it's going to take me straight into a test Stripe account that I've got. So this is the test account. Now again, if you've never used Stripe, it lets you do a test version and also a live version, which is very handy as a developer. So we'll see here we've got this test mode. So if you click view testing, you can create a test mode, and then if you disable that, you've got a live mode. So I'm going to get my API keys for the test one because I'm going to do it as a test first. So what I need to do is my publishable key. I will be deleting these keys afterwards, so I'm not going to hide them, I'm just going to show them. Now if we go back to WishList, I can put the publishable key in there, and then back to Stripe to reveal the secret key. I just copy that and paste it back in the secret key. Now I can save that, and that should tell us now that there is the link. So we'll see API status connected, so we've got the green line. Now with Stripe you can set the currency, so I'm going to leave it as dollars. You can put a support email address in if it's different than your admin email address. Now what you can also do is you can set a cancellation redirect, so this will be the page where they're redirected to if they cancel. Now I did set a cancelled page up before doing this video, which I will show you in a second. And then we've got this here that if we want to immediately cancel Stripe subscription and level in WishList when a user cancels via Stripe. So I'm going to leave that ticked, and if they want to prorate upgrades, so say they move from one membership to another, with us it doesn't really matter because we've only got one membership level anyway. But if you add more, if you wanted to prorate upgrades between those, so say like you had the beginners one and then the advanced was a bit more, you could change the amount they kind of charge there. Now this last one is the payment form. So this is when they click the join button, which I'll show you in a second. You can change some of the text. So the heading text here is register for. Now this is a short code where you can say what membership it's joining, or it will use the membership level name. Now if you want that to be different than the actual membership name, you can change that there. You can add a logo or an image to it, which again I'll show you the form bit in a bit. Then we can change the button label, so this is like the buy now button, so we can have that set as join, and again it's got a short code which you can replace with whatever text you want. It could just be join now, or if you wanted to keep a specific level, I'll just change this to join now just so I can show you. And then what that will do is when they click the button, it'll pop up the payment form, and this is for the button that when they filled in the information they click pay. So we can also I'll just change this to pay now. Again, you can put it wherever you want. So I'm going to save and close, and now what we can see here is we've got this webhook. So this is again for Stripe, this needs to be entered in Stripe, and if we go to products, we'll see we've got the level that we created before. Now if I click on this pencil to edit it, I can choose a Stripe plan, which I've already set up a test one, which again I'll show you. But if it was like a one-time payment, you could do that and then enter how much you're going to charge. So that's also an option. If it's not going to be a recurring monthly fee, you could just do a one-time payment. But I'm going to use the Stripe plan, and I'm going to choose the beginner's course, and I'm going to save and close that. And if I want to add the button code to the join page, it's going to generate this short code for me. So again, I'll show you that shortly. So let's do the Stripe side of things. If we go back to settings, I'm going to copy this webhook. And then if I go back to Stripe, we'll see we have this webhooks option. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an endpoint. And I'm going to enter in that URL that I've just copied. And we can select a version of the API that we want to use. I'm going to keep it on. I'm going to change it to the latest API version. And then also the way Stripe works is it has all different types of events. Again, if you know what you're doing, you can change that to specific events. So say like a payment event or an order event or something like that. Now if you don't understand the events, you can just select all events and it will do all the events. And then click on add endpoint. Now what I'll show you is just to show you quickly the subscription that I added. So if we go to billing and products, I've created this beginner's product. So if I click on that, we'll see that I added a pricing plan. So when you first create a product, you'll just name the product, and then what you will do is you'll add a pricing plan. So I've just added this one here, which is going to be $27 per week. So what will happen is they will be charged $27 on a weekly basis. Like I said, it's going to be a weekly course. If it's going to be a monthly course or you're going to charge monthly, you can charge monthly. What I've also done is I've added this trial period. So I'm giving them a free trial for 7 days. So basically they'll get access to, in our example, lesson 1. And then after 7 days, they'll be charged the $27 for the next week and so on until it actually finishes. Now obviously you can set up the payment plan however you want, however long you want it to last. This is just an example just to show you how it all works. So now if we go back to WishList, and something before I add the actual products bit, just something to be aware of, you need to remember that if you are using Stripe, you need to make sure that you put your live keys in after you've done testing. So in a future video we're going to go through the testing process, so I'll change these to live once I've tested everything. But this is just a really important note that if you are using Stripe, you need to remember to change your keys, because WishList doesn't give you the option to switch between test and live keys. So you're just going to have to replace these once you're ready to go live with the site. Just something to be aware of. So I'm going to close that, and I'm going to go to the products. We've added the product. That was the $27 plan, like I said. So now what I'll do is I'll add the button code. So if you do that and then copy the short code, and then if I go to the pages and I edit the join page, and just to quickly mention, the cancelled page that I created, that was just a cancelled page. So it's just got a note saying that the cancellation was successful, sorry to see you go. Make sure these kind of pages are unprotected, because at this point they won't be a member again, so just be aware of that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a short code. So if it might show under most used, but if it's not something you use a lot, you may need to go to widgets and short code, and then if we paste the short code in there and then click update, and now if I go to the join page, I'm going to go into an incognito window again just so I'm not logged in, and we can see now we've now got the join now button. So if you remember, I changed the text to join now, and then if we click that, we'll get the Stripe pop up. So this was the one where it said register for, and then the short code, which you could change the name of the product if you wanted to. They enter the name, email, card number. There's the pay now button. So that's the text that I changed. and it's saying here that it's going to be $27 every week. So obviously they'll first get the trial for 7 days, and then they'll be charged $27 every week after that. So that's it for the integration part of the course. In the next video we're going to be looking at some additional options. It's actually one that I've added in. The next one was going to be actually testing the whole process, but we're going to do an extra lesson just to cover some additional options that it's worth me pointing out to you. See you in the next video.